There's a classic white chicken stock and dark chicken stock. The white is made with chicken that has not been cooked in any way except for the boiling in the water that will become the stock itself. You put raw chicken in, you bring it up to boil, you start cooking it this way. That's white. Brown usually roast the bones in the oven until they're really dark. That's fine too. Those are the two classic French chicken stocks. I find myself using chicken stock in a lot of different things. I rarely absolutely need white or absolutely need dark. So what do? I've got extra chicken, which is on a regular basis. I'm going to make something that's kind of in between those two. It's a very general purpose stock. It's going to be, I'm going to cook the chicken in the pot here that the stock's going to be made in, just brown it a little bit on top of the stove. So one of the other good things about making your own chicken stock is that it lets you use up a lot of leftovers that would have probably gone into the trash otherwise. Anybody uses leeks, you always end up with the green part of the leek. Now I know a lot of chicken stock recipes tell you to use the white part of the leek only. I can tell you that is not how things are done in classic French kitchens. This is where you use up your vegetable scraps, your stuff that's not very good anymore. It all goes in the stock pot. The vegetables have three stages. Fresh, good for things that are actually going to go on the plate. The second stage is they're past their prime, they go in the stock pot. Third one is if they're finally moldy, then they have to go in the trash. But you try to catch them before they get to that stage. I got some celery here that's well past its prime, but it's not moldy or anything. It's just not fresh and prime. I got some herbs here, in this case cilantro. As you can see, it's pretty droopy. Couldn't put this on anybody's plate. I got some mushrooms here that sat a little bit too long. They're starting to dry out. That's fine. You might think this is a lot of mushrooms for the stock. That's up to you. You know, yeah, it's going to be a chicken and mushroom kind of stock. That's okay. I got one shallot, a clove of garlic. You don't have to peel these because it's all going to be strained off later anyway. I've got a few extra chives. They're starting to get dried up on the ends. Yeah, fine. We'll throw them in the pot. Now, the things you do have to have in it, I've got some thyme. If I had fresh thyme, some old fresh thyme, I'd throw that in. I don't, so I have to use the dried. I've got peppercorns, a few cloves, and a couple of bay leaves here. So when this chicken is actually browned a bit, we're going to throw all this in. As you can see, the chicken, it's not dark brown, but you know, it's brown some. There's some fond forming on the bottom of the pan. This is good. This helps jumpstart the stock making process. You won't get completely clear white stock in the end, but most of the time you don't need that anyway. And it takes less chicken to make a flavorful stock this way, and it cooks a lot less time. So overall, it's a win-win-win situation as far as I'm concerned. So we've got the chicken is brown. Now what I'm going to do is just start adding all the vegetables and mushrooms right over the top of this. And it doesn't really matter what order it goes in. It's all going to get mixed around as it cooks anyway. I got the bay leaf and the thyme and all that. All goes in together. We'll give it one stir to free it up from the bottom. Now, I'm going to take this strainer and I'm going to put it over the top of this.
By placing a perforated plate like this near the surface of the liquid, three things have been accomplished. First, of course, the solids are kept below the surface away from air, which reduces oxidation effects during long cooking. Second, lowering the temperature at the surface, since the surface is the only path out and a certain minimum energy is required to escape the surface, much less vapor escapes. Third, you carry out the flavor extraction at a slightly higher temperature below the plate without constantly having to add more water at the surface due to losses through evaporation. This method works well for poultry, but not for beef or veal or game meats, because they produce more scum that gets trapped below the plate and it'll turn the stock bitter. Now, in order to keep this down, I'm putting this little dessert cup over the top of this, and I'm going to pour water. I already heated this up on a pan. This is almost boiling water. Again, just speeds the process up a little bit. You can use cold water and bring it up to a boil. You know, if I was making veal stock, that's certainly what I would do. But in this case, it's fine.
This is what you want to see. Wisps of steam and only occasional small bubbles. Just to show you the temperature here in Celsius, it's around 80 degrees. When the water gets down to the top of that strainer, then you can take this off. You can see that the water is evaporated down to where it's below the strainer. I'm going to pick this up. One way to do that, use a toothpick. And this two things. You got the scum, picks the scum up with the strainer and releases the rest of it to evaporate more quickly. Now there's more of the surface of the liquids exposed, so it will start evaporating a little bit quicker than it was. As the volume decreases, the temperature will increase, and when you get to where you're reading a temperature above about 90 degrees Celsius, you know it's reached a point where you should probably stop it and strain it off. Okay, we're straining it into a smaller pot. Now all the solids that are at the top of the sieve here are just basically waste material. You can stir them around, make sure you get all the liquid you can off of them. There's really nothing more you can do with these. They've given up everything they've got. They're just trash now. Once you got it down to about 40 degrees Celsius, you put a lid on it, put the whole thing in the refrigerator till the next day. Now, the final product will depend on how much meat you had, how much vegetables, and how much you reduced it. This is what I reduced all of this to. The reason it's so dark is because all those mushrooms that are in there. This is very rich and powerful taste because I reduced it this much. This would not be considered a general chicken stock. This is something for an intense flavor. But, you know, it's how much you reduce it, how much meat you put in, what vegetables you put in. It's all a matter of personal choice. The method is the same. Also look for my cocktail book, Cocktails of the South Pacific and Beyond, Advanced Mixology, available through Amazon online.